Let's talk about what I call the most foundational law. So the law of belief, right? So the belief is what I found to be is the building blocks of the mind. So based on what beliefs you have, it can determine what thoughts you have, what emotions you have, and what actions you take, and also what type of reality that you will create. So that's one of the main things I realized even when I was studying Abhidharma Buddhism, is that this ability for the thoughts to determine, especially your beliefs, to determine your emotions, actions, and reality, right? And I found that specifically your beliefs you carry can either imprison you or free you, right? And some of us carry certain belief systems that we carry from our childhood, believing that we are not good enough. We sometimes criticize ourselves, and then we believe there we cannot accomplish our goals. Some of these beliefs we carry and we are programmed into from our childhood, and then it could be sometimes coming from our family as well, families as well, extended family and so forth, right? Again, it's not, we can't really blame anyone in our family because they went through the same challenges in their childhood that they are programmed by, right? So you will see that a lot of your beliefs, right, a lot of your thoughts are actually programmed during your childhood, and during by your family or by your friends and by society. And what happens is that, as we talk about, as I said before, your reality is influenced by these beliefs. Your actions are influenced by these beliefs, right? So they can have a huge impact in what type of life you live. And it becomes our responsibility to use our conscious mind, right? We'll talk about conscious mind more and more, but it becomes our responsibility to observe what are the beliefs we have, and choose beliefs that empower us. And I would say is one of the main things that determines the direction of your life, and the level of success or level of failure, all determined by the beliefs you carry. And then because the beliefs yield to different emotions and different actions, it can have a profound effect on your reality because of that. So if you can control your thoughts, or if you, specifically if you can control your beliefs, you can control your mind. And if you can control your mind, you can accomplish anything, right? So this is one of the main things that I found in my search. Okay. So what are the benefits, right? So what are the benefits and penalties, right? What are the riches and penalties that is associated with being able to control your mind versus you won't if you didn't control your mind. So let's look at some of the penalties that you would need to pay if you fail to control your mind. And again, literally these some of these examples that you see is actually looking at back my own life, right? So I realized when I couldn't really control my mind, when I couldn't control my emotions, when I couldn't control my thoughts, there was a lot of fear and worry. I would continually think about how I failed certain projects in the past, and therefore my life is a mess, right? I would think like that. And I realized when I couldn't control my thoughts, and I realize more and more now how your thoughts can lead to different type of illnesses and diseases. Even the word disease, right? You can see if you break down into if you split from the middle, right, it says dis ease, right? So I realized my thoughts were leading me to be in a at lack of ease or disease, right? So that led to, I realize now more and more, is that led to aspects, things like diseases like burnout and sadness or depression, right? So that's what I actually struggled with for a while before as well. Even I had successes in my life, I really didn't know why I'm feeling sad. It didn't make any sense to me, but I also didn't know how to control my mind properly, right? So that's one of the things I noticed for myself. And there was also a lot of indecision and doubt about how to proceed in my life, how what would happen, certain stages in my life, with my work, with my relationships, with my finances. So there was a lot of indecision and a lot of doubt that affected these things. And I remember there was a time that I was very frustrated and discouraged as well. And I feel like even some of the projects that I started in the past didn't really go the way I want, and that really discouraged me. And I couldn't really figure out what is the problem here. I'm doing all the actions. Why can't I be consistent with my projects? Why can't I be consistent with the actions I take? So this was a major issue for me, specifically because I was personally running to these issues and I wanted to find a way to solve them. And I realized, things, when one of the penalties you would pay when you don't take control of your mind is that you would have financial trouble, right? Because if you're unable to control your mind and direct your mind to a way that you contribute to other people's lives, you're not going to make money. That's just the reality of it. It's not because money is evil or anything like that. Money is just simply an exchange of resource, right? It's basically a symbol that tells you, this is how much you contributed to the world. So the world is now is giving you back. That signifies how much you gave back to the world, right? So one of the things that you will have a struggle with is we don't control your mind, is that it's challenging to contribute to the world in a consistent way, right? And also, when you don't know how to control your mind, you will also struggle with things like envy, jealousy, and things like greed, right? You see that when many people, especially when they don't have what other people have or want what other people have, because they don't know how to get it, they have envious and jealous thoughts about them, about others, and they also beat themselves up over it, right? Sometimes they criticize themselves for not having something, or they criticize others for having something, and this doesn't really set you in a good path, right? Again, these are some of the things I personally struggle with. So that's what I'm saying. I didn't want to have these emotions. I love people. Why am I feeling envious and jealous when I don't want to, right? Why do I feel anger and hate towards other people when I don't want to? Especially, I realized it started with my own self, feeling upset with myself for not accomplishing certain things, or not being able to accomplish things in the future as well. So I didn't want to feel that way. So I wanted to see what I needed to do. And also, I realized superstition also played a huge role. So specifically when I was reading about Buddhism and Christianity, I started to believe, especially when I was learning about Christianity, that I found God to be a punishing being, because I didn't know what he was talking about the mind. And especially when I was learning things about like karma and things like that, I started to believe karma is always coming in, you know biting, hurting me. And I thought it was basically coming from my, what I've done in the past. And what I now realize is karma is, it can be looked at that way if but I realize you can use karma for benefit as well, where it literally says what you do unto others is done upon you. If you do good to others, goodness comes, right? So if you give to the world, the world will give you back, right? But the thing is, how can I give to the world when I'm so sad and upset and feeling frustrated in life? So I needed to change that. So what I discovered is that when you do start to take control of your mind, there's a lot of riches to be had. There's some of the riches you would enjoy if you were to take control of your mind is that you actually develop a peace of mind and you started to become a lot more happier, because I realized that your thoughts literally determine the level of emotion you have, right? If you have negative thoughts about yourself, if you're continually criticizing yourself or criticizing others, it's really challenging to develop a peace of mind or be happy. And the same token, right? If you are more happier and have a more peace of mind, you will have better health. This is again something I realized personally, is that when I have when I have less issues with people, when I have less challenges with people, I tend to be in a better health, right? So, and then when I have more challenges with people, I started to see that I started to get aches and pains, and even like things like I had high blood pressure actually at that time. So I was wondering, why is this coming when such a young age? So these are some of the things I personally went through. But when I started to control my mind, learn to forgive myself, learn to forgive others, and control, basically forgive means letting go of negative thinking about yourself and other people, I started to have a lot more better health. And then one of the most important thing was, finding a labor of love. Like what I do now is my labor of love. I love public speaking. I love creating courses. I love writing books. I love helping people with their personal development and, spirituality. So now I finally been able to do what I consider to be labor of love of my own choice, right? So that's one of the main things that I found for myself. And you will see the same thing if you're having a hard time finding what you love to do, having a better control of your mind, right, will allow you to find your labor of love. And I think that's everybody's destiny. I think why we came here to do is not to just, imprison ourselves doing things that we don't love or continually take vacations. I think we came here to both, do have vacations, but also do what we love to do and contribute to the world in a way that we love the best, right? That we enjoy the best, right? So I realized even when I used to be in my career that, especially when I was doing digital marketing, if somebody would ask me to do like a complete work, I was like, I don't know about that. I'm actually on break right now, or I don't work after 5 o'clock, right? But now it's not the case. Now, if somebody asks me to do something related to this stuff, it's like anytime I'll be up for it. I'll be ready for it, right? So I now work about easily 10 to 12 hours a day, developing courses, writing, working on developing workshops, writing my articles. So it's have become the labor of love that I wanted. So that had made a huge difference in terms of finding my ideal career and ideal path, right? All this is because I decided to learn how to control my mind. And one of the main things that I've started to experience is that I've learned how to be free from worry and fear. So I cannot say there's, completely it's gone. There's a lot less things that worries me and make me fearful, simply because I know if I want to have something in my life, there are specific steps I can follow to get it, right? And I didn't always have that confidence. I didn't have that belief in myself before, but because now I know what to do with the mind in order to achieve something, I'm able to be less fearful, less worrisome. And another main thing that I realized that when I was in my journey, that even though I had a relatively positive mentality or mental attitude in earlier in my career, as I started to work in the corporate world, I started to become a lot more cynical, a lot more negative, a lot more aggressive, a lot more colder. I was like, I don't want to feel this way because I'm working. This is not the way I want to live. Why do I feel that way? Why do I need to feel negative because I'm working for somebody? So I didn't really know how to answer that. So, but when I learned to learn to understand and control my mind, I realized I can control my mental attitude a lot more. I can be positive if I want. And positivity, you will see, I'm not just saying, oh, be positive for positivity's sake. I'm not really saying that there are literally steps you can do to be more positive, but the advantage of having positive mental attitude are the riches you get from your life, or the riches that you would get from being able to control your mind. So I realized that positive mentality not only just puts you in a better mood, it actually started to attract better things to your life. Okay, so that's one of the main things that I started to notice. And then the material riches of your quantity and choice. Again, this aspect of it, I'm still working my labor of love, so I'm still getting slowly richer. So this is something I realized, is that over the last 2 years, I realized that my income started to go up. I'm able to do things that make money more. So I felt so hopeless and helpless of figuring out how do I make money, because I literally left my career that was paying me good money. But now when I'm in a business or in an area that I don't know anything about, how am I going to make money? Right? But I realize the more I'm able to control my mind, the more I'm able to use my mind to contribute to others, because I can contribute to others more, and go that extra mile. And we'll talk about the value of going that extra mile. It have reflected in my riches and finances. So that's one of the things I will tell you as well. So learning to control your mind have a lot of benefits. It's not just a good idea. It's not just for peace of mind. I mean, obviously, that's the most important thing I would say. There are a lot of other benefits associated with being able to control your mind. Okay. What I found, so this aspect, so the great secret I came across when I was, especially understanding this specific law of belief, is that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, right? Again, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. Again, I learned this. This is not something I came up with. This is something I discovered. Specifically, this quote or this secret is talked about in a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, right? So that's a highly recommended book for you to learn about the mind. And he talks about much of the book actually talks about the mind, how to use your mind to become richer, not just financially, but all aspects of life. So this is a major secret that I found is that if you can think about something that you can have, and if you can really believe you can have it, the mind will make it, mind will bring to you, mind will achieve it for you, right? So that's one of the main things that you will see. And I will show you how to conceive ideas, how to improve your belief, right? I can help. That's what I will help you with, so that you can convince the mind, whatever the mind or whatever the thing that you want to have in life, right? How do you increase your belief in yourself? How do you increase the belief in the fact that you can achieve that, right? So when I started to start these practices, right, like learning about law of belief, learning about the mind, I realized I'm able to achieve a lot of things than I did before, right? So that's one of the major great secrets I found when I was in my search. So one of the main things I also found is that choosing beliefs that empowers you. So and then once you find those specific beliefs that empower you, how do you update that? How do you update it or how do you reprogram your mind to do that? So one of the main ones that we will talk about more and more, especially in the coming sessions, is that this aspect of how do you set goals properly, right? The secret of goal setting, right? Because I realize, many people say that they have goals, but there's a specific way to set goals that your mind agrees with it. Instead of rejecting the idea, oh, that's not possible or that's doubtful, there's a specific way to set goals, and there's a specific way to do planning and then taking action. So we'll talk about when we're talking about in the next section on the law of cause and effect, right? And then this aspect of law of substitution. So identifying and changing beliefs. How do you properly do this? Instead of giving up on when I started initially, changing beliefs was really hard thing for me. I didn't know the mechanics associated with that. So now I found a specific way, even when I'm doing my program, my master's in psychotherapy and counseling, especially in spiritual care as well. There's a specific way you can identify and change beliefs. So that's what I consider the law of substitution that we will talk about. And you realize that even though you change your beliefs, there's certain repeating that needs work, that needs work, or that your mind needs. So the law of repetition, especially repeating empowering beliefs, become a very important thing in order to really understand how to implement these specific beliefs and these specific ideas. Okay.